Greetings. The Mega Mac Cat is Bat, and I'm doing a review of Bayonetta 2, as I promised. Do apologize for that secret project I was working on not coming through by Halloween. Work and other matters sort of torpedoed my plans. Apologies again. But to make it up for you, I've got Bayonetta 2, the review, ready to go. So, let's say we get started. I'm sure you're all wondering what my opinions are, so with that, let's start the review with some introductory footage. Now, this is going to be a very low spoiler review. I'm going to try and keep it as spoiler-free as I can. Just going to talk about some basic stuff, my usual topics that I go through, the story. We're talking story, we're talking gameplay, the technical aspects, and of course its pros and cons. Now, this is one of those games that is a real shock because, one, it's a Nintendo exclusive, and two, it's a sequel to a game that was a bit of a cult classic. For those of you not familiar, the original Bayonetta was released on multiple platforms and was a third-person action fighting game by Platinum Games, published by Sega. It's now published by a combination of Sega, Nintendo, and with Platinum Games developing. And, well, let's get started with the story, shall we? So, Bayonetta 1 was about Bayonetta trying to get her memories and going through this long, drawn-out quest to figure out who she was and yada yada. It's kind of redundant at this point because if you really want to know the story, the first game's packaged with this game, so play it to your heart's content. Now, Bayonetta 2 starts off with Bayonetta, who now has her memories, and now not only has that confident, powerful demeanor, but is now happy with her life. She's living a normal life. She's still doing her job as an angel killer. She's still hot for days. I'm sorry. I think Bayonetta is one of the coolest characters in existence, and her story, while not the most deep, is benefited greatly by her being an amazing and interesting character. And of course, she's now partnered up with John from the last game as well, who also has a new appearance. In fact, John now looks more like Bayonetta did, and Bayonetta now looks like John did. I wonder if anybody else knows that. But for the most part, they're working together. There's usually some cross in their work. But now John's got the hint that something bad's going on, because both the people upstairs and the demons downstairs are a little bit antsy. So, of course, one can imagine, that leads to their shopping trip getting interrupted by an attack by angels, and, well, things get out of hand. Which, believe me, when I say get out of hand, I mean way out of hand. We'll get there. But the story is very well written, but it's also very simplistic. It gets a little more complicated later on, but it starts out fairly simple. Bayonetta is who she is, and honestly, if you cross her, she kills you. That's just how it is. Also, they do a little bit more subtle hinting as to her connection to the demonic realm. In particular, with that shadow scene and with later reveals about who her primary demon is, you learn a little bit more about Bayonetta and what their world is like through this game. But here's the other half of the story. Bayonetta loses control of one of her demons. It attacks her, John saves her, and loses her soul. Her soul then gets pulled straight to hell. Sorry, these demons are grabby. But anyway, naturally, Bayonetta is not having none of that crap and is determined to find a way to hell and more or less, get John back. But first she's got to kill this gigantic demon monster. So yeah, the story quickly escalates. As the old saying goes, that escalated quickly. But I do admit to finding it fairly interesting, but the story's secondary. It's not what you're here for. And truth be told, the big thing that you're here for is to fight giant monsters, beat angel ass, and generally look awesome doing it. And at that, this game is an absolute success. The story is a good addition and has some interesting twists and content, but it's not what I'm here for. And being honest, I could do without the story and the game would still be great. So, now as for the gameplay, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, this pretty much describes the game perfectly. Bayonetta is on top of a jet, killing centaur angel things with a giant scythe, handguns, and vines on her feet. I wish I could explain this. I really do, but you know, it's not worth bothering, and if you're really asking for this game to have any type of reality behind it, you're kinda in the wrong place. But yeah, no, the gameplay is absolutely solid. It takes off from the original game's basic structure. Bayonetta has hands and feet that has different weapons attached to it. In this case, I'm using Alarain, the whip weapon that you acquire later in the game, and Carbong, which is a giant three-bladed scythe. I call it the Freddy Krueger scythe because of those long blades, but it's kind of what it reminds me of. You also have a bow, guns, and a few other odds and ends. You also get special weapons with certain costumes you can equip, depending upon, like Sherba there, on what you're equipped with. You also get your original guns from the previous game, as well as a new set that Rodin makes you. But at the end of the day, each weapon is unique and features different styles to it, and learning them is a great part of the fun. Although some of the weapons are a little OP. The bow in particular can make certain fights a joke, and the vine whip things are just manically overpowered. Especially when you use your super mode, which is a new feature. The super mode power boosts all your weapons to an enormous degree, and even allows you to summon demons at will to help you fight. So that's a new feature on top of the normal QuickTime events that you were able to do in previous games, like this. So this game takes what was great about the original formula and expands it to an immensely entertaining degree. I had a blast every step of the way. There's a few areas where the pacing gets a little slow, and one or two sections where it feels as if they might have done better with the enemy placement and layout. But overall, I won't complain about a game that was this much fun. You know, it's like, I made a joke about Sunset Overdrive being a baby between third-person shooters and Bayonetta, but even it is just not on the same level as Bayonetta. So, that being said, let's move on to the next section. Now, you'll notice as one of the neat little bonuses for this series, Bayonetta actually gets to wear costumes from various Nintendo games because Nintendo helped fund this. In fact, that's one of the things that makes this game interesting. And it also is one of the things that makes the technical achievement very interesting. The Wii U is not known as a powerhouse. In fact, it's not even close in comparison to Xbox One or PS4. Yet they did some astonishing work here. I mean, it looks beautiful. And it doesn't have any slowdown. It's 60 frames a second without any interruption. My only complaint that I ever had was I did feel that the textures were a little bit limited, and I did feel that at times I felt almost like some of the animation had to be cut out, because I felt as if the game might just not have been able to handle it. It is also notable that it feels as if there's actually more enemies in the game this time than the previous one, which is an impressive feat. There's also an updated re-release of the original game on here as well, which is nice. But on a graphics standpoint, this game does extraordinary work with the resources available to it. And in fact, I think it's a triumph that Nintendo's little system is able to do this. We may have underestimated its capabilities, you know. Now, as far as the audio and music are concerned, everybody puts in a good performance, although admittedly, Yuri Lowenthal as Luca is still always a bit of a joke to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a good voice actor and I like his work, but he's just so outclassed by the rest of the crew. Particularly Bayonetta, Helen Taylor. My God. She is having just too much damn fun with this role.
And entrusted each to humanity.
And it's notable that I actually saw the anime that came out right before this did. And, you know, I have to say, it's clear that she's really gotten into being Bayonetta. She really likes this work. So I give her credit. She does excellent work. Crispin Freeman shows up in this one as well as as the primary antagonist. I won't spoil exactly how that comes around. But basically, he shows up playing good guy Alucard. Basically, or, well, not good guy Alucard, but righteous Alucard. Essentially. That's how it feels to me. Now, I will admit that he and Bayonetta, Helen Taylor and Crispin Freeman, actually play off each other very well. So I'll give them credit on that. But on a technical level, this game does extremely well. It has great visuals, solid graphics. Its art style is just as wild and crazy as it was before. It feels as if somebody just took the original game from the last generation, amped everything up to 11, and wrote a new story with it. So the game has probably the best presentation I've seen for a Wii U game. I admit there's some stiff competition with a few of Nintendo's own products, but to be honest personally, I really feel as if this game may be the champion in their group. Still, I will give them credit for taking the risk of actually trying to make this game and publishing it and putting it through. I say more power to them, and I hope this continues to be a successful series.
The last sage I met spent 20 minutes rambling on and on.
Anyway, moving on to the last couple of items here. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter review because, to be truthful, I could have summed up this entire thing with just 3 words. This game is awesome. 4 words, I'm sorry. But, yeah, I mean, this is a game where it starts off with you riding a jet and killing monsters, and just goes more crazy from there. Can't really argue that point. So, now we're going to get to the pros and cons, and I'll explain the good, the bad, what little there is, and if it's worth buying. And by this point, you probably already know how I'm going to answer, but hey, gotta do my job, right? That being said, the game is amazing. It has a great character in Bayonetta. It has good-looking graphics. The game looks amazing. Its combat is solid and varied. The audio and the music is excellent, in particular the voice work of Crispin Freeman and Helena Taylor. And it has solid replay value with the different costumes and different challenges that come up. It also includes bonus replay value in the fact that you have a full additional game packaged in as part of the deal. Now, for the cons. To be perfectly honest, yeah, it should be longer. It was a little short for my taste. I thought they could have done more with it, but the QuickTime events are a little too easy. The unlocks take way too long to unlock. And some levels have confusing layouts, particularly certain levels set in hell later on in the game. You know, no major spoilers, you are going to hell in this game, but yeah, I mean, those are some minor gripes that I had, but it's still an excellent game. And well worth the time to get it and play it through to its end. I do wish that there were a few more things they could have done with it, but should you buy it? Yes. If you're a Wii U owner, there is no excuse. If you don't own a Wii U, but you were a fan of the original Bayonetta, get it. It's worth the money. Plus, you get 2 games for the price of 1. Not exactly a bad deal. If you're not a fan of the original series and you weren't a Wii U owner, That's the only reason I could see not getting this game. And even then, I'd actually be hard-pressed to argue that if you're a fan of Devil May Cry or any of those types of games, you owe it to yourself to give this a try. There's just too much good stuff on offer here not to give it a try. Still, that's my opinion, and you're free to disagree if you don't like my opinion or if you disagree with my viewpoints. That's fine. At the end of the day, Bayonetta 2 is a game that has so much energy and so much polish that any faults it has, I can easily overlook for the fun factor. It's not perfect, no game is, but for Nintendo's catalog, it is excellent. This is the Mega Maquette signing off. I will see you next time with hopefully my special project. Cheers!